Night in the search for answers after a husband and wife were found shot to death in their home in Wineland Park. Police say they found no sign of forced entry and no weapon inside that home along North 4th Street this week. ABC 6's Aaron Simonek is learning more about the couple and what newly released 911 calls are revealing.
Wineland Park, as investigators try to piece together what led to a man and a woman being shot to death inside this home.
So I know that's a lot of questions still out there. It's very early for us to try to answer those right now.
So we have a husband and wife that was found unalived inside of their home. And the crazy thing about this, or I should say the weird thing about this, is there's no forced entry. And there's a couple other details like the children were there, but they were left unharmed. So I'm going to give you some thoughts and maybe some hopefully clues of who the police could be looking at, who the suspects are. Fugitive TV. Welcome back to Fugitive TV. I am your host, Ray Marcel. And if this is your first time watching this channel, the reason why it's called Fugitive TV is because I was on the run from the law for a very long time, 15 years, changing names, living in different countries, or I should say living in different countries and things of that nature. So now what I do is I take a look at these cases and I try and look at them from a different perspective of missing people, unsolved mysteries. And I try and look at them from a different perspective that other people might not have because I was once on the other side of that law. Okay. Well, today, what we have going on is there is a case. They found a dentist who's the husband and the wife. Okay. Bodies were unalived inside of their home. Nice home. I looked it up and I'm going to show you the home so you guys can see this home. It's a very nice home. And the reason why, I should say, how they came across these bodies inside their home was the husband was a dentist and he didn't show up to work. So their work was worried. They were very worried. And what they did was they called the police to do a welfare check. Police showed up at the house, um, I guess knocked or whatever, and then they left. And then some time goes by. I think it's only like an hour. And a coworker goes to the home and a coworker goes to the home and I guess hears children inside the home crying because they had kids that were under the age of 6 years old. And one of the coworkers goes to a window and says that she sees him on the floor on the ground. I'm going to show you guys the house so we can maybe think about what window she probably saw this at. Well, police came back and when they went inside, they saw that the husband was unalived. Now he had GSW, which is um wounds, but multiple, okay? Multiple bullet wounds to him. The wife had one wound to her chest, one bullet wound to her chest, but he had multiple, okay? So keep that in mind. Remember, he's multiple. And the kids were unharmed. They didn't hurt the kids at all.
Police say this does not appear to be suicide. They also say there were no signs of forced entry and no has been found. Officers were called to the home for a welfare check where they found the two bodies.
The caller stated they were concerned because they hadn't heard from their employee, didn't show up for work, and they were just concerned that maybe something was wrong with their employee.
Police also found two children inside the home, both under the age of 6 and both unharmed. People who knew the homeowners stopped by throughout the day. One person who did not want to go on camera described them as kind and said their heart breaks for the children. All of this unfolding in a dense residential neighborhood, leaving neighbors shocked.
There's some mystery going on. Now, some people would think that maybe was it, did one of them do it to each other? You know what I mean? How we've had a lot of incidents lately where it would be a unaliving and then the person would unalive themselves. So that's what the first thing people come to mind and what they're thinking of. Well, the thing is, there was no weapon found. So if you go to unalive somebody else and then you want to do it to yourself, you the weapon's going to be right there. You just did it to yourself. It's going to be right there in your hand on the ground next to you. They didn't find a weapon. So because there's no weapon and both of them passed from a weapon, then we all know that somebody else had to do this. Okay.
My heart just goes out to them. That's terrible to hear that happened, especially so close. It is a little bit worrying, but all I can think about is those kids.
Ethan Garcia, who lives just steps away, says he didn't hear or see anything unusual in the days leading up to police finding the two bodies.
I didn't hear anything at all. I was even outside last night at around 8:30, I'd say, and I didn't see or hear anything at all.
Police say this investigation will take time, but nearby security cameras may provide crucial evidence. Until then, neighbors say they're on edge.
Pretty concerned right now, a little worrying because, I do have a family at home and I want to make sure they're okay. Could be random. That's kind of my biggest fear.
Now, here's some other clues. Here's some things that I realize the media is not saying. I saw from a family member, okay, from a post that there was nothing taken inside the house. There was no signs of a struggle or anything like that. There was no forced entry. Nothing was robbed from the house supposedly. Now, usually, let's say if it's a home invasion, the house is going to get robbed, right? House to get robbed and they would keep going. Well, I'm here to tell you guys from my knowledge of especially being locked up with some people that have done this before, this is definitely targeted. It was targeted. There's no question about this, okay? No forced entry. They didn't take anything out the house. They didn't rob anything. They didn't harm the children. Thank God they did not harm the kids. So that's a great thing, right? With that part of it. But the wife and husband are gone. The wife just has one wound, just one, but the husband has multiple. They never said how many, but he has multiple. So I'm thinking that whoever did this, okay, one, they had it out for him. We don't know why, but they had it out for him if he's got multiple. Now, I'm curious to know, this is what I'm curious about, is this is how you know if it's really like personal about him. As I did a case before, I think it was, I can't remember the case I was doing before on this channel. And the guy they arrested, he had a previous, right? And one of his previous charge was attempting manslaughter. And what he did was he took out his weapon and blasted him pretty much point blank range, right in the chest. The guy fell to the ground. And then what he did was he stood over him and did it a couple more times. That's personal, okay? When you stand over somebody after you did it the first time, you intentionally want them to be gone. There's no questions about that. And most of the time, you know that person, okay? So whoever did this, they knew who they were. The people who passed away, unfortunately, they probably looked at them in the face, trusted them probably some sort of way because they were in the house or at least at the door. So some sort of way they knew them and they met their demise to somebody they knew. One reason is because there's no sign of forced entry. Okay, they didn't break down the door, they didn't bust a window. So it was either somebody who knocked at the door, rang the doorbell, and they opened the door up. They possibly could have forced their way inside from doing that. That could be a very possibility. Forced their way inside from, the door. Or somebody they let in completely, and that's what happened. We're gonna take a look at the house real quick. Now, here's the actual house. $700,000 house. Like I said, this is a nice house, and it's pretty new. So as you see, this is how the house is structured. Now, if the police came, right? Police usually aren't allowed to go through certain property lines. It just all depends on how bad they want to, you know, do their law enforcing, I should say. So when the police first came, and some people were questioning, like, why didn't police see the person on the ground, but the worker did? It all depends on where the worker saw them on the ground. So, for example, let's take a look at this first picture. You see that window? It's kind of up on a hill. Now, me and you, a regular person, if they're standing up on this hill, they probably would not be able to have an angle to look inside of the actual house because of how it's angled. Now, law enforcement is not going to jump that fence because they don't have the right to. See that little gate right there? So if you could jump the gate, maybe you would see somebody right there. You could possibly, right? Like I said, very nice house. Now, let's get to another little area of the home that I'm going to show you guys real quick. Let's keep scrolling down. All right. See these two windows? For you guys that don't know, this house has a basement. That's why those two windows are up high compared to these windows. Okay? See right there? It's like a basement window. Basement window. Okay, so this is the basement. And then you can look and you can actually see stairs as well. So, basement windows you can look in, right? For example, let's look at this picture right here. See if I can. Oh, it won't let me zoom in. Actually, yeah, it will. There we go. All right. See that right there? So, you see how this fenced? You see that? So, police can't come through the fence. They don't have a warrant or nothing. But the coworker don't care about a warrant, right? So the coworker can come through the fence, look through here, or look through the back door, which is right there, and maybe see them laying on the ground. Okay? They also have a garage right here. Could the person went through the garage? Is it possible the garage was left open? We don't know. Now I have saw reports. I don't know if it's true, but I saw reports saying that the doors were locked too. That is why, let's say the coworker had to go around the house and peep through the windows, okay? Because they couldn't open the door. So if that's the case, that means whoever did this either was able to lock the door, either they had a key, or they took the keys, or they possibly could have had one of those locks where you can lock it from the inside, not the deadbolt lock, but the lock you can lock from the inside and then close the door and it locks. That is a possibility. But that was something I saw that I noticed a lot of big media outlets aren't talking about. All right. So if you guys realized when we were watching that news, the news clip did show a camera, right? That was a police camera that is located across the street. Here's a little diagram of that camera and where it could possibly aim at. And as you see, the aim could be right at their house. The house is the house that's marked with the X. So it could be right at their house. So they probably know, you know, who this individual is by then. Now, we don't know if the individual went through the front door and knocked, or we don't know if maybe they snuck through the back door. Because let's say if the back door was open, or the back window that we saw could have been open, and depending on their stature or size of the person, could have went through the house. We don't know. We can only speculate and we can think about what happened. All right, so now that we saw that, okay, we know for a fact that there's going to be some video footage. They have the police camera down the street, which possibly is pointing at the house. Now, for some of you people who don't know, some of these cities have these police cameras that I just showed you. And we know there's a Ring doorbell because of the news footage showed the door with the Ring doorbell on it. So if they rang the doorbell, it's a good chance that they see the footage. I think police know who the person probably is, and they're not telling us, and they probably are zero in on it. Now, one of the things here I'm going to tell you guys is, so the welfare check was requested after Spencer Tepe did not show up for work at Athens Dental Depot. The owner, Mark, called 911 telling dispatchers Tepe, or Tepe, I think it's Tepe, was always on time for work. I'm on vacation, but this individual, Spencer, works with me and he did not show up to work this morning. We cannot get a hold of him or his family. Now, according to audio of the 911 call reviewed by ABC News, he's been reliable and we cannot get in touch with him, his wife, his family, anybody that lives in that house. Police records indicate that the authorities were initially contacted at 9:03 a.m. and that an officer responded to the home at 9:22 a.m. but received no answer and left. A person called police at 9:58 reporting that they heard children inside. Nobody was answering. And this is when supposedly they saw him on the ground from the window, which I just showed you, which could be maybe the windows, what they saw. It could be any window, but I'm just speculating that part, which window it could be.
Suspicions starting early Tuesday morning after Dr. Spencer Tepe didn't show up at the dentist office where he worked. The Athens Dental Depot opening at 8 a.m. The first call to Columbus police went out at 9:03.
This individual, Spencer, works with me, and he did not show up to work this morning, and we cannot get a hold of him or his family.
The owner of Athens Dental Depot knowing something was wrong.
Like, he is always on time, and he would contact us if there was any issues whatsoever. And I just don't know how else to say this. Like, we're very, very concerned because this is very out of character. And we can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing.
At 9:22 a.m., an officer arrives at the home, reported no one answered. Several employees of Dr. Tepe continue driving to the house to check on him. At 9:57 a.m., a friend asked for police to return because he could hear children inside of the home. At 10:05 a.m., a frantic call to police saying he could see Spencer's body inside, laying next to a bed. Police soon returned, finding Spencer and his wife Monique and 2 children who were unharmed. New records released Wednesday reveal Spencer was shot multiple times. Monique was shot at least once in the chest.
Now, some people are wondering who could do this. Like, some people are wondering if it could be a home invasion. I'm going to rule out the home invasion part because nothing was taken. Usually a home invasion, something's taken. Nothing was taken. Like I said, this was personal. I've all my time being around individuals who would sickly do things like this, because I spent some time with them. If they were going to home invade somebody or rob somebody, they're doing it to take something. In that house, supposedly nothing was taken. So this is letting me know that it was not a home invasion. This is somebody they knew. Okay. Now, or somebody they knew that's responsible. There's a lot of fingers being pointed. Some people are talking about, oh, it could be somebody related to Spencer's job, right? But then the motivation is like, why would somebody from his job do that? I mean, why? They're jealous he's got a bonus and they didn't. I mean, that didn't. I'm not saying it's not possible, but why? What would be the motive behind that? Usually, a person does this because there's a motive. Some people thought maybe it could be a patient. Maybe he messed up somebody's dental work. I'm not saying that's not possible, but a person, because you messed up their dental work or whatever, it had to be some really bad dental work. That's the case. And these are just things I've seen people saying, right? Now, another one is his wife. His wife, she has a ex-husband that the media is not talking about. Now, I'm not saying it's him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's him. But a lot of times when these things happen, okay? There's jealousy involved. Now, they did say that Monique and Spencer have been married since, I think, 2021, if I'm correct, or 2000. I think it's 2021. So they've been married for 4 years. They have kids together, right? I believe the kids are with them. I don't know if there's any children with the prior husband. That part I don't know. I'm going to research that and find out to see if there's any children with the prior husband. I don't know. But she was married before. the person she was married to, I mean, doesn't he didn't have like a big record or nothing. It's just some bunch of traffic stuff, things like that. But still, you never know. Could he possibly be a suspect and they're just not telling us? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, what do you guys think? For you guys that know about this story, do you think it's somebody they knew? Or do you think it was somebody doing a home invasion and it just went wrong? But shooting somebody multiple times, usually that's not gone wrong. Usually it's one, oh, so that's different. But what do you guys think? Have you heard of this story? And do you guys think the police know who the suspect is and they're just trying to narrow down? And eventually, if they can't find him, maybe they're going to tell us, hey, we're looking for this person who did it. And could it be the ex husband or could it be somebody that worked with Spencer? I guess we're all going to find out. Now, for you guys that's been returning, I know my background's different. I'm actually out of town right now. I'm out of town because a situation came up where a family is needs help trying to locate somebody that did something to a loved one, and unfortunately law enforcement is being lazy, so they reached out to me and contacted me if I can actually help them. So that's what I'm doing right now. Can't give you any more details on that. Maybe later on I can, but right now I can't, and that's the reason why I'm here where I'm at right now. um, Next week I'll probably be back in my original settings. Well, if you're new to this channel, please like and subscribe, okay? Trust me, you will not be disappointed. Um, and let me know what city or state or country that you're in. All right. Fugitive TV, welcome to the new year 2026. Take care of one another. Please like, subscribe. My returning subscribers and watchers, thank you so much for helping my channel blow up this past year. You guys have helped me out a whole lot, and I will not regret that. All right. Fugitive TV, stay tuned. I'm out.